Hello, everybody. Welcome into this non-Victory Monday edition of the Pack-A-Day podcast. It feels weird to say when every Monday has basically been a Victory Monday or Victory Tuesday, recently coming off the Packers' hot 4-0 start to the season, but coming off of a bye week, no Victory Monday this week, so there's still a ton to break down with this week's slate of action, and I want to go over that and how it affects the Packers moving forward. So let's kick things off right away with the really tough news about Dak Prescott being lost for the season. A really difficult moment to watch from the injury to seeing him get carted off. Very emotional, understandably, with the injury that took place. Went immediately to the hospital and immediately, basically was operated on. He is lost for the season. And this is, one, heartbreaking for Dak and not too dissimilar of a situation, obviously on very different scales, but from what happened to Lane Taylor on the last year of his deal, wanting to come out and have a really fantastic season to earn a bigger deal a year from now. It sucked when it happened to Lane Taylor. It sucks when it happened to Dak Prescott. I know Packers and Cowboys aren't exactly the best friends, but you care about these players. You want to see the players be at their best. The injuries are the worst part about sports, and having to see these players who have worked so hard to get to this point and really be just on the precipice of a major payday in Dak's scenario. You hate seeing these things happen. This is a major turning point with the Dallas Cowboys franchise. Who knows if Dak will come back? Are you going to give the franchise tag to a player that just, basically ripped up his leg? Is Dak going to want to come back to the Cowboys after they didn't take care of him and now he's in this situation that he is? You got to think that Dak is potentially gone from the Cowboys, and that changes not only this season, but really their franchise moving forward. Just a major, major break in the plans of the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy, of course, is the head coach there. As weird as it sounds, I still think they're the favorites in the NFC East, even with Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, whatever they call him, as the quarterback of the Cowboys going forward. I think that they're still the favorites. The Eagles have looked terrible. The Giants aren't it. The Washington footballers are not it. So that division is still certainly up for grabs. Maybe as the Eagles get healthy, they can, be at least competition, but that's a terrible division. You should not automatically get in because you win your division, especially if it's as bad as the NFC East is. But it'll be really interesting to see how good the Cowboys can be moving forward. They still have Zeke. They still have a tremendous amount of weapons on the outside. Andy Dalton now at quarterback. Their offensive line is banged up. Their defense is banged up. So this is definitely going to be something that the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are going to have to overcome. I'm sure they're nobody's underdogs, but this is a major changing point for the Cowboys and their franchise. Let's move to kind of a nicer part of this, kind of a juxtaposition from Dak Prescott to Alex Smith making his return. And he immediately should be the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. I think they said something today like 17 surgeries he had on his leg. It didn't seem like he was this close to having it amputated and not being able to use that leg again, to now actually taking snaps and playing in an NFL game. Kudos to Alex Smith for the comeback. Hopefully Dak can make a quicker and faster and even better recovery than what Alex Smith had to go through. But a great story seeing him get back on the field. Obviously, you didn't want to see Kyle Allen get hurt to have it come to that point, but Alex Smith taking snaps was, again, just a really interesting juxtaposition to what happened with Dak, but a much better news story, and seeing him be able to recover. Didn't do much in that game, but he's still, just the fact that he was able to get back and take snaps was really an incredible end to that journey of his recovery. So again, congratulations to Alex Smith. Let's talk some Vikings and Seahawks. That was a game that went back and forth. It was really tough, I think, from a lot of Packers fans trying to figure out at the end, who did you want to fail? I know a lot of people just said the Vikings because they're the Vikings. I think a lot of people said the Seahawks because of standings and tiebreakers at the end of the year and things like that. I get both sides of it. I think the Vikings are the team that most Packer fans hate the most, and never want anything good to happen to them. So a win maybe, catapults them, gives them maybe that, galvanizing moment, whatever it may be, to maybe get them back on track. That clearly did not happen. They fall apart at the end. Interesting note, on the 2-point conversion, not the 2-point, on the, going for it on 4th and 1 late in the game to try to seal the game rather than kicking the field goal to make the Seahawks have to go down and score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion just to tie the game. this is a really interesting scenario. So apparently the analytics say, you know what, the best thing to do in that situation is actually go for it, try to get the 1 yard. If you look at the run, Alexander Mattison should have got it. The hole was there. He missed the hole, ran into his own guy, gets stopped, and turnover on down. Seahawks get it, go down and score. I love the aggressiveness, and I actually won't fault Mike Zimmer for going to try to get the 1 yard. The Vikings run offense was really shoving it down the Seahawks run defense throat all game long, even with Alexander Mattison. Madison's made for that type of situation, even if Dalvin Cook was out. So I'm not going to drag him for making that decision. If you can't get a yard, you probably don't deserve to win anyway. But there's a difference here, and the difference is 1 point. In a 7-point game, in a situation where in a 4-point game, I guess I should say, in a situation where a field goal makes it 7, I actually like going for it in that situation a lot more than in a 5-point game and kicking the field goal to go up by 8. And I just feel like in this situation, there's 2 outcomes, right? You get the first down and the game is over. But if you don't get it, you're only up by 5, and the Seahawks are going to, go down, and if they score, you lose. I don't like that quite as much, even though you only have a yard to get. With it, being a field goal to go up by 8, I just feel like that gives you more outs. In a 7-point game, I can actually see it a little bit more, because if they go down and score a touchdown, kick the extra point, you go into overtime, and anyone can win in that situation, and you might have to leave it up to a coin flip. But when it's an 8-point game, what that does is it gives you so many outs. So 1, you kick the field goal, you go up by 8. 1, if you can stop them at all from scoring the touchdown, you win. Even if they score a touchdown, if you stop the 2-point conversion, you win. Even if they score the touchdown and they get the 2-point conversion, you still have the potential to win in overtime. So in that situation, because it's 8 and not 7, to me, there's a huge difference there. I love going for it in that situation if it's a 4-point game, and instead of kicking the field goal. But in this situation, with it being the 5-point game, I kick the field goal there. I make them do all of those things. I make them drive down, score the touchdown, get the 2, and then still beat me in overtime 1-on-1. And if they do all of that, then at that point you tip your cap. So again, I'm not going to drag them for going for it. I get it. I love the aggressiveness. Probably if I were a head coach, I would lean towards being aggressive in that situation as well. But I think in that situation, I actually like kicking the field goal a little bit more. Hindsight's always 20/20, but this really is, a bottom point for the Vikings this season. They're now 1-4 on the year. They just extended Zimmer. They just extended Cousins. Dalvin Cook gets injured in this game. They had the opportunity to win it, and they don't. Just feels like something's got to change, and it feels like this. I don't know if it's a dagger, but it really puts doubt into what they're going to be able to accomplish the rest of the season. So I think that's still good news there. And it definitely feels like the Seahawks and Packers are destined to face each other at some point in the playoffs, and the Packers are going to deal with them one way or the other. In this case, it kind of feels like it puts the Vikings well down the totem pole and having to really work their way up from here on out. 49ers look like a shell of themselves, just get crushed by the Dolphins. Jimmy G gets benched. He didn't look like himself. That defense, no Nick Bosa. D Ford is out. I know Javon Kinlaw's in, but DeForest Buckner, that trade, they're just not the same along the defensive front. Their secondary is totally banged up. Their offenses, a lot of guys have been in and out of the lineup. There's no rhythm or consistency there right now. This is not the same 49ers team, and I think Green Bay has to feel confident if they would have, when they do go to San Francisco in a few weeks, that they can now win that game. Again, it just doesn't feel, I'm not so certain that the 49ers aren't the worst team in the NFC West, which is a crazy turnaround. Call it another one of those Super Bowl hangovers, if you will. I think it's more just injury bit than anything else, but they are not the same 49ers team. They get crushed by Miami, and they definitely have a lot of work to do if they want to get back to where they were a season ago. Dan Quinn gets fired. Probably should have happened earlier. I hate seeing people get fired, but ultimately when you're a head coach and you get hired, unless you're a Bill Belichick, you get hired and you're eventually going to probably get fired. Dan Quinn probably should have gone previously. Him and Thomas Dimitroff now out in Atlanta. This is a new rebuild for that Falcons franchise. It's probably overdue. We'll see what happens. Maybe they're in line for a quarterback with Matt Ryan getting a little bit up there in age. But again, this is another one of those teams that's now going to go through a very major transition. And this basically ends their season now that they are 0-5 and starting this new transition. Travis Fulgham had a really nice day for the Eagles again. I know a lot of people were mentioning, is he the next Taysom Hill? Listen, Detroit released him, didn't see anything in him. Green Bay had him for a few days, didn't see anything. He didn't do anything in camp on those few days to make any, notice of that, he should be kept. There was nothing there. He gets released there. He goes to Philly. Guess what? Philly released him too. Nobody thought there was anything in this guy. Sometimes what happens is you just get a chance and you make the most of your opportunity. Travis Fulgham for the Philadelphia Eagles so far has got a chance the last 2 weeks and he's made the most of it. A very similar situation in a way to Alan Lazard for the Packers a season ago. Sometimes it's, you don't see those sort of things in practice, but they get in a game, they show out, and they have, they break out. And that seemingly was what happened. We'll see if he can continue it. I still have my doubts, but tip your cap. Great start to the season, or at least great, a couple weeks for him. Seems like a very nice signing for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't think Green Bay should have any regrets that they let him out the door. Sometimes those things just happen. That does it for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Pack a Day podcast on YouTube. Make sure to check out Perry Goldstein, Alex Strauff, and myself on the full edition of the podcast today. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.